Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us on the Rustbelt Ramble 2023 through Lemons Rally. This morning, we all met up at the Detroit Bus Company, which has actually been a stop on the last two Detroit parts of the Rustbelt Ramble. We stopped here on the first year for a bus tour on the end of day one, and we did a bus tour the day before and met up the morning of the rally last year for the 2022 rally. A lot of the cars here were new from previous years. There was a couple reoccurring cars. The Beretta team actually was there from last year, a bunch of cool people. And there was the Dodge Neon, actually from a previous rally, and they were there as well. One of my favorite quick teams that was there was the Taskmaster team. If you guys don't know what Taskmaster is, look it up on YouTube. You definitely will not be disappointed.
So, you get to put them all over.
Forgotten Dailies just ducked our car.
Duck the car.
Luke, did you just get a box of ducks thrown in your face?
I did.
Jeez, it's raining ducks in the car.
They're all over the place. And they squeak. So you get to listen to that the entire rally because Mike's
Other than Luke honking my horn. That was all day yesterday.
Well, you have a new horn. Just take a handful of them, go squeak, squeak, squeak.
And Luke did squeak those ducks the entire time we were driving. He liked to hold them out the window, squeaking them and yelling at Jeeps we identify as a Jeep. And we did try to duck a few Jeeps throughout the day as well. Our first stop was the first automated assembly line there in Highland Park, Michigan, followed by a quick jaunt over to Clawson, Michigan for David Land. I'm not sure what David Land is other than a sign that says David Land and a bunch of little signs and sculptures. I did ask David from the Triumph by Air team with the Corvette that has a Triumph engine in it what David Land was, and unfortunately he could not tell me what it was. But the Fiero there in the background, that actually has a supercharged 3800 V6 and sounded pretty good. He was able to keep some good highway speeds, and we were kind of limited at 70 miles an hour. Our next stop was the Grand Trunk Western Railroad Depot in Birmingham, Michigan. We actually did get to drive Woodward Avenue and see a whole bunch of cool cars, and I think there was about 15 GT40 Fords we saw as well during that time. Our next stop was the ill-advised, potentially traffic-choked cooling system defeating checkpoint through Woodward Avenue to find the Grinnell Brothers music building in Pontiac. Unfortunately, the road was shut down due to everything going on, so we were only able to get a picture of the side, but somehow Team Punchraff surprised everyone and got a picture out front. They always disappear throughout the rally, and then you find them again, which was kind of cool. We did find Waldo there with Jack at the stop in Ortonville, Michigan, at the Ortonville Mill. It's a pretty cool historic site to see. I had to use a block of wood actually to keep the car from rolling down the hill, even though it wasn't very steep, since we did not have a working parking brake in the MEEP on this rally. After which, we actually headed to the Sit-Down Strike Park in Flint, Michigan, for the UAW. The strike happened many years ago, I believe. Let's see, we got the picture coming up. In the 1930s, 36 to 37. We actually had a gentleman come out of the building and talk to us in regards to the strike. Let us know a couple things about some of the monuments and things there, and was actually really surprised what we were doing, and told us to let the organizers, Jeff and Eric, know thank you for putting them on the map and kind of sharing the history of Flint with this sit-down strike, so that people could learn more information about it, because I lived in Michigan my entire life and never knew anything about it, and had family members from the Flint and Bay City, Saginaw area over there in the Thumb, and never knew anything about it as well. Here in this video is a ball that's spinning around. It weighs 6,000 pounds, and water pressure holds it down and moves it. Our next stop was the Flint Weather Ball. In the background there, you can see it. It was about the closest we could get without having to stop on a main street, but we just pulled off in this parking lot real quick and took a picture. And there actually is another weather ball in Michigan in Grand Rapids. The next one we went to was the Smiley Tower in Flushing, Michigan. Yet another city I've been to multiple times and never knew that existed. There's a cool park. You go down a little crushed asphalt driveway, and there's some ball diamonds and everything in the back. After which we headed north to Frankenmuth to find a Bavarian chicken restaurant. We actually parked behind real quick, and we ducked a Jeep with one of our mini ducks that we had. And here's a picture of one of the chicken restaurants. We did attempt to go in and get food, but unfortunately it was super busy, so we had to settle for the local Taco Bell for lunch before heading to our next checkpoint of the day, which was actually the Rock of Stevie Wonder in Saginaw. Surprisingly, Stevie Wonder's real name is Steveland. I did not know that, nor was I aware he was from Michigan. One cool thing about these rallies, like I've said before, is you learn a lot about history of the city and state you live in at points if the rally takes place or goes through your neck of the woods. After which, we headed to Saginaw, a different area, to this antique museum, which is actually, I believe, run by one of the Lemons 24 Hours organizers. And then we looked around inside, saw a bunch of cool things, like this really cool little Matchbox car. I did want to get it, but decided against it. However, we did purchase a wonderful horse velvet painting for Rally Master Jeff, as it was his birthday. The Lemons Rally Find It was this bean sign here, and unfortunately, it had been torn down a couple years ago, and the area looked nothing like it did before. Thank you to Matt from Tis But a Scratch. He took a picture of the high school they were building there at the corner, because as we just turned around and went back.
Alrighty. Lemons Rally patented feats of dumbness? Patent pending. Checker taxi cabs were built in Kalamazoo. Convert your Lemons Rally into a taxi cab throughout the day and present it by the day's end for 75 points? It's totally worth it. Got that? You know, I think we can make this happen. Tags. Just leave it.
So after we turned our car into a taxi for 75 extra points and completely ruining our Barbie theme, we stopped in the center of Michigan to get a team selfie in front of the monument, showing that St. Louis, Michigan is the actual center of the hand of Michigan, which is kind of cool. We then drove for about an hour and a half across to go to another checkpoint in Rockford, Michigan, but we did stop in a town called Greenville to Rosie's Diner, which actually was a place I used to go to with my dad when I was a kid. So we stopped in Rockford at the Hot Dog Hall of Fame at the corner bar. The building actually had burned a couple years ago, and they did a full rebuild on the building and an entire freshen up on the inside so that I could, remain open or, get back open so people could enjoy their food. I had never been there before, so we went inside for dinner since it was about 5 o'clock, and we were fortunate enough when we dropped Luke off in the middle of the road to go around the corner and come back to get a picture of our car in front of the building, and a parking spot opened up, and we went inside to get some food. I shot a picture of Jim from the Ford Granada team staring at our car. Turns out he thought his glasses were messed up and he was seeing a yellow car instead of a pink one from the morning, until he realized we actually repainted our entire car. That was the meal actually right here. I got some hot dogs and some fries. They were really good. Luke got some pork nachos and cheese curds. Cheese curds were pretty good as well. And Mike got the same thing I did and was kind of concerned why I was taking his photo whilst he was eating the coleslaw that came with the meal. Afterwards, we headed towards the world's largest flypaper factory in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I grew up in Grand Rapids until I was about 7 or 8 years old and never even knew this building existed. So we shot over there, got our picture in front, and that was our last stop of day one. There was another stop, the Steelcase Pyramid, but unfortunately security guards were not too happy about all of us in our crap boxes showing up to take pictures. I appreciate you guys all watching the video, and stay tuned for days 2 and 3 of Rustbelt Ramble 2023. And photo credit to Eric with the Lemons Rally for these photos. I just did some screenshots from their website. That's why there is the Lemons logo. Just some pictures of us throughout the day. Here's us heading to the antique show or store, and me putting my parking brake in the car. And once again, us taking off. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next 2 weeks with some more videos of our shenanigans.